What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Pokémon DataDex with me, TheOneIntegral. Now last week we covered the Grass Steel type Ferrothorn and I asked you guys which Mega you wanted to see this week. It was a choice between Gengar and Latias came through in the end. So we're covering Latias and Mega Latias today. But before we do that, of course we have to vote for next week's Pokemon. We're getting into the final few now. Again, we're looking at some popular Pokemon here, and we have two water types, Feraligatr and Azumarill, both introduced in the Johto region. Both pure water, apart from Azumarill because it's not pure water anymore, but you guys get the idea. And vote for it down below. Do you want to see Feraligatr covered, the Johto starter, or do you want to see the huge powered Azumarill covered? Let me know down below by commenting either Feraligatr or Azumarill. But for now, let's get on and have a look at Latias. So Latias, it is a Dragon Psychic type and number 380 in the National Pokédex, being one of the legendaries of the Hoenn region, and also being the Eon Pokemon alongside Latios. Latias is 4 foot 7 inches or 1.4 meters in size, and we can assume this is some sort of wingspan measurement because it's Latias, we suppose, and it weighs 88.2 pounds or 40 kilograms, being the slightly smaller one of the duo. Latios is generally bigger than Latias. Egg and breeding wise, being legendary, it's in the undiscovered egg group, meaning it can't breed, and it is female 100% of the time, so sorry males, but Latias is a girl rather than a guy. Evolution wise, of course, Latias does not evolve from or into anything, being a legendary Pokemon. Looking at its base stats quickly as well, we can see its highest base stat is special defense at 130, and then special attack at speed 110, then defense at 90, and then finally health points and attack at 80. So basically Latias is more of, especially, I think Latios is generally higher special attack, whereas Latias has higher special defense and a bit more bulky, especially when we look at the Mega later on. Mega Latias generally is a bulky Pokemon, whereas Mega Latios is more offensive. And of course, its lowest stat is attack and health points, meaning it's not the bulkiest of Pokemon, but of course it can't really use physical attacks either, so we're looking at special attacks of Latias pretty much. Latias' ability is Levitate, and of course that's the only one it can have, which gives full immunity to ground type moves, which is quite nice. I'm not going to complain there, but of course a nice ability, a better ability one might be better for Latias, but it's what we get. Looking at those typings, it resists 6 types, which is grass, water, fire, electric, fighting and psychic, and is weak to 6 as well equally, bug, ghost, ice, dragon, dark and fairy. It's immune to the ground type thanks to levitate, and then as neutral from the last 5 types, normal, flying, poison, rock and ground. So generally it's a more a meh typing. It has the 6 resistances, cool, but it has 6 weaknesses, not so cool, but it also does have 1 immunity as well. So it's not the worst typing, but it's not amazingly great. But of course having dragon on your side gives you nice stab dragon moves, which we know can be pretty powerful. Speaking about those moves, let's have a look at what moves Latias might want to use. First up with the level up moves, learnt at level 70 in X and Y, at level 36 in Auras, we have Reflect type. It's a bit of a weird move, but it changes Latias' typing to be the same as the opponent's. Now of course it means you lose your stabs, but it means you lose I wouldn't say weak typing we've got, but the off typing we've got. And of course you do retain the ground type immunity because of the fact that we got Levitate, so depending on what you get and change to, it could be better for you, but it's nice to have the option sometimes. And of course in the set it's used in, we'll explain more about it then. Then, second level up move at level 80 in X and Y, level 56 in Auras, we have Dragon Pulse, not the most powerful dragon type move, but a pretty standard dragon move, special as well to build off of her strengths there, nothing too much to say about it there. And then finally for the level up moves we have at level 85 or level 61, Healing Wish, a psychic move that kills you, but will heal the next Pokemon that comes in. So it's great when you're on low health. It's not a move you want to use as soon as you go in, of course, but it's good, saying, oh, I can't really do anything and I'm going to die anyway, so I may as well use Healing Wish and it could benefit the rest of my team, sort of thing. Then the TMs. Start with TM3, which is Psyshock, better than Psychic because it calculates damage using the opponent's defense rather than special defense, so that's pretty good there. And of course we have Stab on it as well, unless we change our type. Then we have TM13 Ice Beam, generally a good move to have around, nothing too much to complain about there. And obviously if we're looking to use Reflect typing a lot, we could end up having a Stab Ice Beam because we could change ourselves to an Ice type. It all depends what Pokemon we're facing and use Reflect type against. But obviously we're not going to get it usually, but it is a good standard move. Then we have TM19 Roost, decent health point regeneration, why not? It's a good way to get it back because we don't really want running leftovers too much on Latias, and of course if we're using Mega Latias, we're not going to have the option anyway. Then we have TM24 Thunderbolt, basically just another coverage move that you could run. It's pretty strong as well, it's got good coverage and all that fun stuff. And then finally for the TMs we have TM73 Thunderwave, obviously not an offensive move, but it is an option to sort of hang around. Latias isn't the fastest Pokemon, so Thunderwave is always welcomed, but of course Thunderwave will also help out the rest of your team as well. Then we have one tutor move, which is Draco Meteor, being a very powerful Dragon type move, special again. So it's pretty decent, tutor only obviously, it does also reduce your special attack when used, so you have to think about that when using it. And then finally we have one transfer move, we don't see these too often, but basically this is a move you can only get from games before Generation 6 basically. And the way to get this move, which is Defog, which obviously clears out the battlefield, the only way to get Defog on a Latias is to have it originate in Generation 3, obviously Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, trade it up to Generation 4, teach Defog via TM there, and then transfer it from 5 to, up to Generation 6, and then that's it. Of course, being a non-Gen 6 Pokemon, it won't. There are some tournaments and such where it won't be allowed to be used, so it is sort of an invalid move in no sense, but you can use it. So stuff like Showdown is valid. Valid? Yeah, valid, that's the word I'm going for. But Defog will clear the battlefield of all spikes and Stealth Rocks and stuff, which can be pretty useful. So before we go on and look at those sets, we'll have a quick look here at Mega Latias to see what changes. Keeps the same typing, Dragon Psychic, so nothing too much to say there, but it does get bigger though. It goes up to 5 foot 11 inches or 1.8 meters, so again it's a slight size, and obviously gets a bit heavier too, going up to 114.6 pounds or 52 kilograms. The Megastone, which is the Latiasite, can be found either on Southern Island or given to you in Little Root Town. Obviously, if you're playing Alpha Sapphire, you will get Latias on Southern Island when you play through the game, and it will be holding the Latiasite. If you're playing a Mega Ruby, after you do the Delta episode, your mother will give it to you. So that's how you get the Megastone. Mega Evolution wise, Latias, going to Latiasite, it changes colours from red to sort of a pale blue, gains some extra sort of jet-like additions, and it looks very similar to Mega Latios as well. I don't know why they made the designs similar, sort of each other, but the main feature is that Mega Latias has yellow golden eyes. Looking at its base stats quickly, obviously health points stay the same at 80, its attack gains a slight boost up to 100, its defense also gets boosted up to 120, special attack a slight boost to 140, special defense again sort of similar to the normal base stats, goes up to 150, and then speed stays the same at 110, so it gains its main boosts are in special attack, special defense and physical attack. Obviously we're still going to be focusing on special attack rather than physical attack because the sort of the moveset better suits it. But it's generally a good sort of rise. Ability stays Levitate though, so the typing is exactly the same as it was before. Nothing to say there. So let's then move on to look at these sort of sets. Is what I'm trying to think. We have two normal Latias sets, one sort of a basic one I guess, and then one sort of a physically a fully attacking set, and then we have one Mega Latias set. So first up we have a Draco Meteor, Psyshock, Healing Wish, and then Defog or Roost. Then we have Levitate as the ability of course, Timid Nature, a held item being the Life Orb, and then EVs were having maximum speed, and then the last few 184 in special attack and 72 in health points to finish up. So basically this is sort of working off of your stab moves. We have Draco Meteor and Psyshock, boom, both your stabs there are going to do a lot of damage, especially Draco Meteor. Then we have Healing Wish in the case of, okay, we're going to just use Draco Meteor and Psyshock until we get down to low health, and then we're going to Healing Wish. And then finally Defog or Roost. Obviously if you're not going to transfer anything, you have to use Roost here, or you could run another coverage move, it's completely up to you. But generally this set is more about going in, using Draco Meteor for loads of damage, and then probably switching out, because obviously special attack reduction, it's not really going to do much there. You go in, use a load of power, and then you switch out, and then you come back in later. Of course, once your health gets a bit low, you can use Roost again, and sort of just go like that. Of course, if there's a case where you can't use Roost anymore, and you're going to have to die, you could use Healing Wish, for example, just to help the rest of your team out, basically. Ability can't be spoken about because it's the only one available. Timid Nature combined with maximum speed EVs gives you sort of the speediest Latias we can apart from a Choice Scarf, just to allow you to be always in first to getting these high powered Draco Meteors off, as well as getting the Roosters off first and also Healing Wishes before you can get killed. Held items Life Orb for all the power. We don't want to run a choice set here because, as we said, once the Draco Meteor is used, you can't really do anything more because you've had special attack being lowered. Hence, we like to have, you know, sort of more flexibility. You know, you could Draco Meteor and then, you know, Roost or Healing Wish straight after that. If you're running a choice set, you can't really do any of that. So, you know, the last few EVs obviously summon special attack for the power and summon health points for a bit more bulk, basically. So Roost's a bit more effective. How would you use this one set? Well, as I said already, you sort of go in, you either use Psyshock or Draco Meteor, whichever is better for this situation. If you use Draco Meteor, it's likely killed them unless they're really bulky, so you can switch out and come back in later on and do some more damage again. Once your health gets lower, Roost up as much as you can. If it's too low, you know, or the enemy is too powerful, you can always use Healing Wish to heal up another member of your team. So obviously it's best not to use this set right at the start of the battle, leave it a bit later on, and obviously then any other Pokemon that have low health can be Healing Wished up. So that's set. Let's look at the fully offensive set for Latias, which is going to have Dragon Pulse, Psyshock, Ice Beam, and then Roost or Thunderbolt. You could also run Draco Meteor instead of Dragon Pulse if you really wanted to, just personal preference. Ability, obviously Levitate once more. Nature, Timid again if you want, or you can run a modest one. It's completely up to you if you want a really speedy Latias or one that's going to do loads of damage. Held item, a Life Orb again, and then EVs this time we're having maximum special attack and speed, and then the rest in physical defense. So Dragon Pulse is your Dragon Stab, Psyshock is your Psychic Stab, Ice Beam and then possibly Thunderbolt are your sort of coverage moves, and then Roost is here if you want to have more of a sort of a longer lasting set, whereas you can run Thunderbolt if you just want sort of the loads of coverage. Nature is up to you whether you want speedy or really hard hitting. You have a pretty good speed stat anyway, so it really depends on what you're sort of thinking about facing. If the rest of your team, if you have some really speedy members of the team, you can run Modest. If you haven't really got any speedy members of the team, you might want to have Latias sort of feed into that. Life Orb again just gives us overall power, and of course we have Roost possibly to counteract the health point reduction of that, and then EVs we're having just sort of maximum power and speed really, and then putting some in physical defense to sort of counteract the lower physical defense as opposed to special. How would you use this set? Well, it's sort of your basic offensive set. If you're running all 4 moves, you could even run a Choice Scarf or a Choice something or other. What's the one for special? I can't remember. You guys get the idea, you know what I'm talking about. You just sort of go in, you do damage, and you switch out. Of course, if you've got Roost, you can use that to sort of bring you back up each time. But that is really it for that set. So let's move on to the final one, which is of course focusing on a Mega Latias, which is arguably a bit more interesting. We have, moveset wise, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Roost, and then Reflect type or Thunder Wave. Bit of a weird moveset there. Ability of course is Levitate, Nature is Timid again, held item being the Latiasite, the Mega Stone, and then EVs are having actually maximum health points this time, maximum speed, and the rest in special defense. So this isn't as focused on sort of power here, we're more focused on staying alive a bit longer, while also doing, dishing out some power as we go. We don't have any of our stabs here, because we have possibly Reflect type to sort of, I don't want to say counteract the stabs, but to make use of, to counteract your typing you have. And of course, at that point, your Dragon and Psychic moves wouldn't be as useful anyway. So Thunderbolt and Ice Beam are sort of going to have more coverage than they would, and more effectiveness. Combined with Roost keeps you alive. Of course, you could run Thunder Wave instead of Reflect type, in which point you might want to think about running it, Dragon Pulse and Psyshock instead of the Thunderbolt and Ice Beam, just because you would keep those stabs, but that's entirely up to you. And obviously your Thunder Wave in that case would then be able to use to slow down your opponents, but it's nothing too special. But Reflect type, generally, you want to use it against obviously a Pokemon with good typing, but generally you want to use it against just to get rid of your bad typing, because obviously Dragon Psychic isn't, as we saw, the best, because we have 6 weaknesses, so you can use it to get rid of something. Obviously if you come up against the Ferrothorn, go ahead and use that there, why not? You don't necessarily have to use something against something that's got a electric or ice type in it, because which would be more helpful because you get more power of it, but you don't have to. We have the Timid Nature to be speedy and to use stuff like Reflect type and Roost before the opponent, and obviously maximum speed EVs helps that too. But we have maximum health points EVs just because we're looking to be a bit more bulky here, because that is in Mega form health points are only 80, which is really quite low. So it's always nice to have a boost there, and then Special Defense just making it a bit more specially bulky there. But how would you use this set? Well, as I mentioned already, you sort of want to use Reflect type as soon as you can, and then you just fire off some moves and Roost when you need to, really. That's pretty simple there. So, that's it for Latias. That's going to be it for today's episode. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button, and of course, remember to vote for next week's Pokemon, either for Alligator or Azumarill. Comment down below now. But for now, this is going to be it for me for today. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.